For decades, people kept asking the same question. Why did first class take so long to realize the danger that night? On the Titanic, luxury was not just comfort. It insulated sound, vibration, and information. When the hull took that long sideways scrape against the iceberg, a lot of people up top felt a brief shudder and kept going like nothing happened. And that is what is terrifying. The threat arrived late. Before we step into this reconstruction, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and come see how that feeling of safety started to crack. On the first class decks, the night runs on autopilot. Warm light, muffled footsteps, flawless service, and that steady feeling of nothing breaks the spell up here. The ship's design helps build a bubble. Tight corridors, heavy doors, thick carpet, insulation that swallows noise and vibration. And then a simple question hits. If everything looks normal, why would anyone suspect danger? The ship broadcasts stability, and first class was built to reinforce that idea. Meanwhile, the crew keeps the rhythm of routine, like it is just another well-executed shift. Comfort, without anyone noticing, is already delaying awareness. First class was the peak of engineering aimed at comfort. Soft materials, gentle lighting, a service standard designed to prevent any weird vibe from spreading. But the package comes with a side effect. It separates passengers from what is actually happening across the rest of the ship. If the hull vibrates or the ship's behavior changes just slightly, up here it arrives muted, almost like background noise. And when something does feel off, the default reading becomes, it must be procedure. Have you noticed how the mind grabs the most convenient explanation when information is unclear? That night, it cost time. Beyond the structure, there is the social factor. In first class, etiquette acts like a brake. Nobody wants to be the first to look worried and ruin the atmosphere. So even when a detail feels wrong, a lot of people choose to act like nothing is happening. Normality becomes a group decision, without anyone ever saying it out loud. But reputation does not change physics, and appearances do not stop water from coming in. And the uncomfortable question starts to form. If something is wrong, why is nobody warning us? Right there, the delay grows. Quietly. Up on the bridge, the night runs on a different clock. Short movements, fast decisions, eyes locked on the Black Sea. But that urgency does not travel down to the upper lounges and corridors right away. The ship is massive, and information has to move through layers of hierarchy and logistics before it becomes a visible order. So in one place, the assessment speeds up. In another, routine keeps insisting everything is fine. It feels small, but that mismatch matters. That is how a privileged space becomes a slower place to understand risk. The calm sea and clear night feed a dangerous sense of safety. No big waves, a steady horizon. Your brain reads that as, everything is under control. Crew members do checks and move with discretion, and to first class it looks like normal upkeep. Nothing that screams emergency. Luxury reinforces the illusion. Warm lighting, orderly spaces, service that avoids showing even a hint of concern. And here is the trap. A ship can be in real trouble without looking like it, because the problem does not have to be visible to be serious. At this point, plenty of people still think, if it were truly bad, someone would have announced it. But that night, information reached a lot of people far too late. Here you can feel two different worlds living inside the same hull. In command and operational areas, the night turns into technical work and controlled containment. In first class, the staff works to preserve the feeling of calm. That is part of the training. But there is a thin line between preventing panic and delaying reaction. Have you ever seen how a polished environment can turn urgency into, "It is nothing"? That night, calm was not proof of safety. A lot of the time, it was part of the problem. And time keeps running, quietly. When the ship meets the ice, many people in first class barely register it. It is not a head-on crash. It is a long, serious side scrape, but almost silent to those high above the waterline, wrapped in insulation. Outside, there is friction, ice breaking away, vibration moving through the hull. But in warm corridors, the signal arrives as a mild shiver. Then it is gone. So the mind concludes, if it stopped, it was not important. But it was, and that kind of misread costs precious minutes. After the shudder, the ship seems to slip back into its normal pattern, and that makes the illusion even stronger. The crew circulates a bit more, but with controlled posture, which broadcasts calm. Meanwhile, technical assessments accelerate without turning into an immediate announcement for everyone. For passengers, the logic is simple. If nobody is running, it cannot be serious. But the absence of chaos does not mean the absence of danger. It means the danger has not turned into an obvious scene yet. And in first class, danger takes longer to become a scene. From here, the signals change. Doors open more often. Items get moved. Crew routes become faster and less ceremonial. It is a kind of warning that catches your eye without explaining anything. And when there is no explanation, the brain fills in the most comfortable version. They must be handling it. Some watch. Others wait for instructions. Many fall into that classic thought. It will pass in a minute. But the situation already demands a different posture. The real fight starts to show itself. It is not just evacuation. It is beating hesitation. When life vests appear and lifeboat prep becomes visible, first class finally understands the night has changed categories. The cruel detail is that safety is close, but awareness arrived late. The crew moves with discipline and force, trying to keep order without bleeding time. And here is the blunt question. How many minutes get wasted trying to keep calm, looking beautiful? If you want to follow this reconstruction to the end, like the video and subscribe to the channel. From here on, every decision has weight. From this point forward, the ship stops being scenery and becomes a stopwatch. On the boat deck, evacuation stops being rumor and becomes a picture. The access is close, but a lot of minds still hunt for an official confirmation before they will believe it. You can see it in the body language. Arrive, stop, wait. Like the luxury around them still promises everything will get sorted out. But the crew is in practical mode. Ropes, knots, equipment checks, boarding sequence. And then the question that hits. Would you trust the comfort around you, or the fact that lifeboats are being lowered into the Atlantic? The bubble starts to burst. Hesitation becomes the invisible enemy, especially in a space where etiquette still has weight. Even with clear signs, some passengers try to keep their posture, like showing fear would be making a scene. The crew forms lines, controls flow, tries to prevent confusion. But controlling is not the same as convincing. Some people step forward, then step back, waiting for a guarantee that does not exist. Meanwhile, in command areas, decisions stay short and technical. First class begins to pay for believing in normality for too long. From here, the tone shifts in a way you can feel. Instructions turn firmer. The line gets organized with more rigidity. And boarding stops looking like an elegant precaution and becomes a real necessity. This is when first class has to get its body to accept what the mind was still resisting. This is not a drill. This is not overcaution. This is evacuation. The ship still looks enormous and well lit, and that visual lies to you.
Women and children only. Stand back, sir.
And here is the question that stings. If this were just procedure, why are they lowering boats in the middle of the night, out in the Atlantic? Awareness arrives, but it arrives late, and late turns into minutes you never get back. The pace quickens, and the illusion of control starts to collapse. The crew works with direct gestures, ropes under tension, davits groaning as each boat drops toward the black water. Even in first class, it gets hard to keep telling yourself, it is just a precaution, when the operation is happening live, right there on deck. The rockets in the sky underline what nobody wants to say out loud. This is a distress call. And the contrast hits. Luxury and status do not change the basics. Time and real access to a boat. Calm becomes contained urgency, and the ship stops feeling like scenery and starts feeling like a limit. After the peak activity, the phase people underestimate begins. Consequences start to assert themselves on their own. The deck feels different, and the body notices small imbalances before the mind is ready to admit it. Blankets appear, faces harden, the social atmosphere evaporates. The sea stays calm, which creates a frightening contradiction. Everything looks quiet, but the ship is not okay. And quiet is not peace. It is accumulated delay. Every minute makes the basics harder. The bow sitting lower stops being a detail and becomes a clear signal that something is wrong. Small things begin to slide, and people find themselves gripping rails more often without even realizing it. The ship speaks through more frequent groans, and what once felt like comfort turns into a disadvantage. First class took longer to feel what was already happening. The crew speeds up because the scene is changing on its own, without waiting for orders. And the sensation shifts too. Walking stops feeling natural and starts feeling like effort, like the floor is slowly turning into a ramp. With the margin shrinking, final measures kick in. Wireless pushed to the limit, preparations for whatever can still be used, decisions made with what time is left. Organization and improvisation collide, and that clashes with the perfection First Class was sold. The list grows, and every movement demands more strength, more care, more speed. The ship still has lights, it still has structure, but it no longer has normal. And First Class finally feels the worst part. Safety was close. The understanding of danger was just too slow. In command areas, the night becomes a fixed frame. A dark window, wind and sea outside. Inside, instrument noise and controlled posture. On deck, emergency signals continue, and water is already real in the forward sections. The operation becomes a race against the list and the cold, which drains energy fast. This is not theater. It is brutal logistics. Crew discipline holds what it can, but the structure is already imposing its own limits. And when the ship starts making decisions on its own, social advantage means nothing. Now the tilt dominates everything. Furniture shifts, footsteps become work, and a moment of distraction turns into a fall. First Class loses the most valuable benefit luxury ever gave it: predictability. The crew tries to squeeze out what is left of the operation while the hull answers with deep, ugly cracks. Outside, the silhouette changes in a way you cannot mistake. Bow down, stern rising. Can you feel the air change? There is no if it will happen anymore. There is only how much time is left. The ship turns into a countdown. On the boat deck, work becomes emergency routine. Lines running, blocks groaning, movements done on signal. The list still allows action, but every step takes more care and more force. And you can see the first-class delay clearly. Some people only grasp the severity when they watch a boat actually drop. On the bridge, there is no pretty picture to guide anything, just black sea and wind. The ship is still lit, but its behavior is already that of a body that has lost stability. It is the kind of moment where the environment stops comforting you and starts betraying you. With the main boats nearly gone, attention turns to the collapsibles stored up near the officers' quarters. This is not a polished scene. It is a last push to create a chance while a chance still exists. The deck tilts harder, and the wind makes everything worse, including holding and moving heavy gear. Have you ever tried to shove something weighty across a floor that has turned into a ramp? That is it. Add biting cold and light that starts to fail. The distance between being close and getting out becomes brutally clear, and delayed awareness starts charging interest. Now the body reacts before the mind. Posture changes, hands search for support, the ship answers with deep, strained groans. Cold is not just discomfort. It reduces strength, coordination, and it steals time. The lights flicker, casting long shadows across the tilted deck, and everything feels more confusing. First class, once insulated, becomes wet wood and raw wind in the face. And outside the profile is final. The bow is gone, and the stern is too high. In this moment, the ship is already at the edge of what it can physically hold. The breakup does not arrive as a show. It arrives as the outcome of a ship pushed past its limit. With the bow already taken, the structure works under a strain it was never meant to sustain for this long, and the hull begins to answer with stronger shudders. From a distance, the sequence is brutally physical. Extreme list, structural stress, then separation. The forward section, with the 4 funnels, pulls down first, accelerating the loss of light and reference. The stern lingers for a few seconds, like it is suspended between floating and falling. And in that short pause, people finally understand what they are seeing, and the question becomes unavoidable. When everything was designed to look safe and steady, why did awareness take so long to become action? At this point, it is not choice anymore. It is consequence. After the break, physics takes over completely. No room left for interpretation. The stern, now separated, changes its behavior. It floats unstable at first, then tilts again, like it is searching for a final balance that does not exist. Lights fail in sequence, and each blackout strips the scene down to what is real. Wind, water, wood groaning. The descent comes with foam and bubbles tearing open the surface, while the sea around it stays relatively calm. Which makes it even more stark. No storm, just gravity. When the stern disappears, there is no grand finale. There is a field of foam, small debris, and silence. The Titanic does not end with an effect. It ends with water taking the space where the ship used to be. What remains on the surface is only the wake of something that just vanished. In the lifeboats, reality shrinks in the most brutal way. The ocean becomes the entire world, and shelter becomes a wet wooden rectangle. Rowing is not leaving. It is creating enough distance to avoid being pulled by turbulence, enough distance to keep the boat positioned safely. Cold becomes a law of nature. Hands lose strength, shoulders lock up. Every movement has to be efficient. Around them, the sound of the world reduces to the basics. Water tapping lightly. Oarlocks squealing, wind slicing the skin. Debris begins to drift into view like a physical reminder of what existed minutes earlier. A chair, a plank, a life vest. Ordinary objects that now look impossible. And there is that strange feeling. Everything happened fast, but the night still feels way too long for the people left waiting for what comes next. The final stage is less action and more continuous survival. People huddle to hold heat, pull blankets over their legs, avoid unnecessary movement because the body is already running on empty. Those who still can manage small tasks, bailing a little water from the bottom, shifting the grip on an oar, checking if anything is coming loose. Silence is not calm. It is exhaustion and shock, with the wind reminding you the early hours are still cold.
This content used AI to reconstruct historical events based on records from the time in a narrative format.
And here the first class lesson becomes clear. The danger took longer to register because comfort muffled the signals, and because information arrived filtered, like it was not allowed to ruin the mood. The advantage of being on the upper decks was not seeing it sooner. It was being closer to the boats when the decision finally became unavoidable. In the end, luxury does not protect you from physics, and the calm sea that night makes that even harder to ignore.